So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a demonstration of a Class 1 double braid eye splice. We'll be using 3/4 inch Samson Stable Braid for this demonstration. First thing you do is you pin your rope with an awl about 5 fid lengths down. See that? Alright. Next, get your 3/4 inch fid and measure 1 fid length from the end of the rope. A little mark. From that point, you count up 8 consecutive strands. And you make mark T. This is your, from here, your taper point. You go all the way around the rope. So on Samson double braid rigging lines, there's two covers. You can have a 20 strand cover, you can have a 24 strand cover. Anything above 5/8 of an inch is always going to be a 24 strand cover. So for 24 strands, we count every 5th set and make a mark. If it was a 20 strand, we'd go 5/4, 5/4, 5/4, 5/4 to the end of the rope. Here we're going to count 5s. And you mark every 5th pair. Every 5th pair. To the end of the rope. Alright, so next, from your first mark that you made, we're going to form our desired eye size. This particular client wants a 6-inch eye. We measure. Have a 6-inch eye there. This is mark X, and that stands for the extraction point. From there, you grab 2 scratch awls, and we're gonna open up the cover of the rope, being careful not to snag the core when we do this. Just use the 2 awls like a set of chopsticks. Now we've exposed the core. Reach in. And careful again not to snag our cover strands. And we will extract the core. As soon as we pull the core out, we'll tape the end so it doesn't unravel any more than that. Alright, so now that we've extracted the core, we walk down just forward of where we pinned our rope and milk the jacket down so that we can zero out the cover and the core to get them equal. At that point, we make mark 1 on the core. Pull some core out. Mark 2 is based on a short fid, which on your Samson fid you'll have 2 lines scored in the aluminum, and it's from the long point to the 2nd line. So mark 2 is a short fid. And then we make mark 3, that's a full fid length and a short fid. Alright, now we're ready to bury the cover inside of the core. We're going to go in at mark 2 and come out at mark 3. Just fold the end of the cover in half, insert it into the fid, and tape it securely. So when you do this, you want to take care. This eventually is going to be our eye. So you want to enter your core from the side. If you come in from the top, you'll start to put a twist in your rope. So we expand the core so that we're not snagging any of the carrier strands. And insert the fid into the core at mark 2. Coming out at mark 3. Pull your cover all the way out until you've exposed mark T. Move your fid. Remove the tape from the end of your cover. Now you can see where all of our marked strands, every 5th pair, we're going to pull these and cut them off as we go. And this will taper our cover. We do this all the way up to mark T. So now we've tapered our cover, we're all the way up to mark T. Take our scissors and just put a slight angle on the end of your cover. So we've completed our taper, and now what we're going to do is bring the core back over the jacket until we expose mark T right here at mark 2. And when you bring mark T out, you don't want to pass it out too far. So there's mark 1. There's mark T. Zero out your berry there. Hold that and then tape it securely. A little trick is to take one of your scratch awls and pin that, and it holds it nice and secure. So what we're going to do now is bury the core inside the cover, starting at mark T. And the directions call for from mark X, we measure 1/3 of a fid length, and we make mark Z. I've marked 1/3 of a fid on this fid. This is a 16-inch fid. 5 5/16 of an inch is about 1/3 of a fid. So from mark X, make sure that when you do this, your rope's not bunched up, because you'll get a false mark. Zero out the rope from mark X going back towards the standing end and make mark Z. So when we bury this, it's going to go in, staying on top of the core that's already in here, and it's going to lay over and come out at mark Z. I'd like to take a knife and cut that at an angle. Put that in the fid, tape it securely. I like to move the eye around a little bit at first. Pull this all out so it doesn't snag so easy. We're going to go in. Being careful not to split. This is a 2 carrier strands. We're not splitting those strands when we go in. You want to make sure you're not snagging this core. Pull it, make sure that it's still free. We're going to come out right at mark Z. So this crossover point here, it's really critical that you keep that uniform in size, roughly the same diameter as your rope. So what we're going to do now is we're going to zero this berry out, always holding the crossover point so we don't lose it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to mark this core to put a taper on it, just like we did with the cover in here. So you go in at mark X, take your pen, reach in, and make a mark on this core. At that point, you pull it out until your mark is exposed. So from this point, going towards the end of the core, we're going to do our taper, and we remove half of the strands. We're only going to be worried about tapering. Remember we went in 1/3 of a fid, that was 5 5/16 of an inch. So from here ultimately we'll be cutting off at 5 5/16 of an inch. So I'm just going to cut this off and out my way. So this core on this 3/4 inch stable braid has 3-strand carriers. You could just remove half of the 3-strand carriers, but in doing so your braid will fall apart. We don't want that to happen, so I remove 2 and 1. I'll take 2 out and I'll remove 1. And I'll do that alternately going around the rope at that taper mark on the core. 2. Then 1. 2. And 1. Well, now we'll cut all these off. Okay. So now from that taper mark, 5 5/16 of an inch. Right there. We're going to cut this at an angle. And again, put a little bit of a taper on that. So now we're going to go over here to our crossover and we're going to zero this out and this will get buried. Always being mindful to hold your crossover. Okay, at this point we're ready to bury and do our final bury. Pull your awl out, hold your crossover point, and get everything zeroed out, and start your bury. Hold your crossover point. Walk down to your awl where you've pinned your rope. Okay, at this point, it's difficult to see, but our eye's a little bit baggy. That happens, what we do, holding your crossover point. See, I've milked that bag up. Give a tug. Now we've zeroed that and tightened that back up. We're now ready to take the tape off. When you start to pull this tape off, because it's a little bit sticky, it tries to lift and deform your core at the crossover there. You want to, earlier we were talking about maintaining that diameter. We really want to work to do that. So I'm going to hold that there. Walk up. Milk it back. You see there, we're almost there. We've developed a little bit of a bag. Again, work that up. So we need to bury to there. We've got just a little ways to go. At this point, you can remove your pin, form a prusik on your line. This gives you the ability to milk the cover more efficiently. Get just a little ways to go. We'll do it one more time. All right, we're there. So there's your completed 6-inch eye. We've married up both Mark 1 and Mark 2. Eye is complete. All the double braids need to be lock stitched. This splice is secure, but the lock stitching keeps this from slipping at low loads till the splice has been set.